AI is taking over the world. In the past few months, we've seen unbelievable deepfakes, amazing AI pictures, but now with ChatGPT, things have gone to another level. In this video, I'm going to be asking the most advanced AI software that is publicly available if it can manufacture some Reddit stories for me to narrate, from famous subreddits like EntitledParents, Pro-Revenge, and even more. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now, if you haven't seen this before, all you do is you literally just type a question or an order into this and it does it. Write me a Reddit post based on r/EntitledParents that is long, detailed, and extremely entertaining. And let's see what it does. It's as simple as that. Okay, and here we go. It is working. It's given us a title. It's given us the start. I'm going to let this all play out, see what it's like, and then let's see how it is. Okay, and there we go. It's finished. It took about a minute, and as you can see, it's pretty long, pretty extensive. I hope it's good quality. Now guys, remember, this is AI. None of this is real. This is not a real person that has made the story. It hasn't taken this from Reddit. What it's done is used all the Reddit posts on r/EntitledParents, used all that algorithm and learning and, you know, machine tools, etc., to manufacture this fake story. And we're going to see how good it is. So here we go. The title: the most entitled parent I've ever encountered. Hey r/EntitledParents. I recently had the displeasure of dealing with the most entitled parent I've ever encountered. It was a situation that left me absolutely stunned, and I just had to share it with you all. The parent in question was the mother of a young child who was attending a local summer camp. On the first day of camp, the mother arrived to drop off her child and immediately started making demands of the camp staff. She wanted to know exactly what her child would be doing every hour of every day, and demanded that the staff cater to her child's every whim. At first, the staff tried to accommodate her requests, but it quickly became clear that this parent was not going to be satisfied no matter what they did. She insisted on speaking with the camp director multiple times per day and would call the camp constantly to check on her child and make more demands. So far, pretty good. As the week went on, the mother's behavior became increasingly outrageous. She demanded that her child be given extra snacks and treats, and even insisted on sending in her own food for her child to eat instead of the camp-provided meals. She also demanded that her child be allowed to skip certain activities that she didn't approve of, and even tried to dictate which other children her child should be allowed to play with. Not gonna lie, so far, this is sounding very real, and very much like a Karen's actions. Needless to say, the camp staff were at their wits' end by the end of the week. They'd never dealt with a parent who was so demanding and entitled, and were relieved when the week came to an end and the child was finally picked up by the mother. But the story doesn't end there. The mother was so upset with how the week had gone that she decided to file a formal complaint with the camp. She accused the staff of not catering to her child's every need and demanded that the camp offer her a full refund for the week. Again, we have literally seen this thing happen before. The camp staff were shocked by the audacity of this request and immediately denied the mother's demands. But that only made the mother even more angry, and she threatened to write negative reviews and spread rumors about the camp unless they complied with her demands. In the end, the camp stood their ground and refused to give in to the mother's demands. But it just goes to show the level of entitlement that some parents can have and the lengths they'll go to in order to get what they want. What's the most entitled parent you've ever encountered? Share your stories in the comments. Okay, overall, not gonna lie, that was scarily accurate. Now listen, a couple of things that I picked out that aren't, Reddit worthy. You wouldn't see this on a Reddit post that I normally cover. For example, at the end of a post, would a user normally put this? What's the most entitled parent you've ever encountered? Share your stories in the comments. No, they wouldn't. And in the same vein, they probably wouldn't introduce the post with, hey, r/EntitledParents. But apart from that, it was pretty well set out. It seemed pretty real. I'm shocked. Now, you guys know that users on Reddit often post updates or edits if more happens in their story. And I'm going to try and get a little update from this fake story from ChatGPT and see what happens. Okay, let's go with this. Okay, that was a truly wonderful story. Thanks. I mean, that bit isn't necessary, but I just want to, be nice to the AI. They're taking over the world and all. Let's be polite. However, I'm not going to say however, because that's a little bit rude. I would like some more, though. Please provide an update on this story with some examples or evidence of direct conversation between the entitled parent and the summer camp staff. And there we go. Let's see what it does with that. Okay, it's finished that, but the problem here, it looks like, is that it's kind of gone back over the same sort of material. Remember, this is AI, this is not a real person. It seems to me as if the same sort of stuff is being brought up rather than providing an update. So I'll rephrase my question. That is great and all, but what happens next? Do they go to court? Does the entitled parents call back again? I want an update on what happened after the conclusion of the week. Let's see what that says. Okay, in the previous example, I described a situation in which the entitled parent continues to make demands of the summer camp staff, but is ultimately rebuffed by the camp director. It's not clear what happens next, as I do not have the ability to provide updates or developments on the story. No, I want you to give me updates. No, I want you to explicitly give me an update on the story. I feel like we're getting into a bit of a heated argument now, me and this AI. But let's see what happens. And I must admit, I've used a pretty forceful tone there, which they may not like. But again, I'm interested to see. Okay, here we go. It's working its magic. And this seems quite encouraging. It looks as if a lawyer is getting involved. No spoilers, I'll come back to you when it's done. Okay, so it starts off by kind of covering its back, saying that it doesn't have the ability to provide updates on events or situations that have previously been described, even though this is all fake anyway. Like, I want you to continue. Give me some new fake stuff. My response is based on my training and general knowledge. I'm not able to provide specific details or developments in a story. It's a story. You are. Now they continue. It is not clear what happens next, as I do not have the ability to provide updates, but here is an example of how the story might continue. Here we go. After the entitled parent's confrontation with the camp director, she was furious and determined to get what she wanted. She called the camp multiple times a day, making more and more outrageous demands and threats. The camp staff were fed up with the entitled parent and her behavior, and they knew they had to take a stand. They decided to speak with a lawyer to see if there was anything they could do to protect themselves from the parent's threats and demands. The lawyer advised the camp staff to document every interaction they had with the entitled parent and to keep a record of all her demands and threats. The lawyer also advised the camp to consider taking legal action against the parent if she continued to make unreasonable demands and threats. The camp staff followed the lawyer's advice, and they continued to rebuff the entitled parent's demands whenever she called. They remained firm and polite, but they made it clear they would not be bullied into giving in to her demands. Eventually, the entitled parent realized that she was not going to get what she wanted, and she stopped calling the camp. The camp staff breathed a sigh of relief, knowing they'd stood up to the entitled parent and protected themselves from her threats and demands. Now, let me just say, a lot of threats and demands here, and also a lot of non-specific content. But there we go. I guess let's leave it at that for story one. Wow, interesting stuff. And I guess now I react to it as I normally do, right? I don't really know where to start. My actual honest assessment of this is that it's pretty interesting, right? Like, it's pretty clear that it's not exactly the same as it would be written by one of us, you know, or a person on Reddit writing a normal story or posting their account of what happened on r/entitledparents. It lacks the detail, it lacks the speech, it lacks the characters of anything. But I wonder, how far away is it from really coming across as 100% authentic? Guys, get in the comments. What do you think? Rate this in terms of how real you would perceive it to be if you saw it on Reddit. As in, if it came from somebody else, would you think real or not? For me, yes, it lacks detail, but I don't know. It reads pretty well. Okay, what I'm going to try next is I'm going to give it a specific story to tell. I'm just going to make something random up in my own head about an entitled parent that has never happened, and let's see what it does. Write a story in the style of an r/entitledparents post. Okay, let's think of something actually mental that would never happen and see what it does with it. About a Karen who visits Area 51 demanding to see the aliens. I mean, I don't think I've read a story like this, but I'm very interested to see what this does. And also I realized I said something that would never happen, but it probably has happened. Anyway, here it goes. It's already given us a title, The Most Entitled Karen I've Ever Encountered. I recently had the displeasure of dealing with the most entitled Karen I've ever encountered. It was a situation that left me absolutely stunned, and I just had to share it with you all. The Karen in question was a middle-aged woman who decided to visit Area 51 in search of aliens. She arrived at the gate of the military base and immediately started making demands of the guards. She demanded to be allowed inside to see the aliens and became increasingly angry when the guards refused to let her in. At first, the guards tried to explain to the Karen that Area 51 is a highly secure military base and that she was not allowed to enter. But the Karen wouldn't listen and continued, once again, to make demands and threats. She accused the guards of hiding the aliens from her and demanded that they let her in or face the consequences. The guards were taken aback by her behavior, and they knew they had to stand their ground. They remained calm and professional, but they made it clear that the Karen was not going to be allowed inside the base, acting very similarly to the staff at the summer camp, I notice. But the Karen was not satisfied with the response, and she became even more angry and entitled. She started yelling at the guards, calling them names and making threats once again. She even went so far as to call the police and demand that they force the guards to let her into the base. The guards were shocked by the Karen's behavior, and they knew they had to do something to stop her. They decided to call the supervisor for backup and waited patiently for him to arrive. When the supervisor arrived, he spoke with the Karen and calmly but firmly explained the situation to her. He told her that she was not allowed to enter the base and that the guards were only doing their job by refusing to let her in. He also explained that there were no aliens at Area 51 and that her demands were unreasonable and unfounded. Interesting conspiracy there. The Karen was furious and she continued to scream and yell at the supervisor. But he remained, much like the summer camp workers, calm and professional, and eventually the Karen stormed off in a huff. The guards and their supervisor were relieved that the situation had been resolved, but they were shocked by the Karen's entitled behavior. It just goes to show the level of entitlement that some people can have and the lengths they'll go to in order to get what they want. And again, we have the same ending. What's the most entitled Karen you've ever encountered? Share your stories in the comments. I mean, look, no one would ever put this, but again, it's not bad, is it? It did exactly what I said. Honestly, the most amazing thing to me is that it writes in very, very good English, full sentences. You guys will be shocked by the amount of editing I have to do on the fly, and also sometimes before I even get started reading a Reddit post on some people's Reddit posts on subreddits like Entitled Parents. Because trust me, some people are extremely illiterate. And there we go. That is a couple of examples of AI trying to write an Entitled Parents post. Let me know what you thought. If anything, I would say this was a very interesting but potentially scary exercise because that was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. The stories were coherent. Yes, they weren't extremely detailed, but they had a beginning, a middle, and end. They read pretty similarly to a normal Reddit post. They get everything about a Karen, being entitled. I didn't have to explain any of that. The thing just got it. I don't really know how, but it did. And yeah, overall, given the strength of this technology, I'm just interested to see what happens next with it.